getting information. Does that make sense?
Yep. I'm gonna try it one more time.
Yeah.
Starts off excellent condition. Then out of nowhere, just like it starts, I don't know, it starts buffering for no reason. It's never done this before though. So look at while I'm streaming right now, test it. See what the upload and everything's doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah, error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintenance. This is your best friend, Steven. State of the Union address. I'm trying to get my internet fixed, so I don't know what is going on. It literally just started doing this a couple days ago for no reason at all.
So, did you just read off an error saying that YouTube is not able to come up?
Yeah, it's saying YouTube is not
Or that
receiving enough
YouTube will do?
video. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming as such videos will, viewers will experience buffering.
Okay. So if you go to a different video,
What do you mean?
then so right now you're streaming YouTube. That's bringing up a message saying that it's experiencing issues, and so customers will experience buffering with their particular videos. If you go over to a different platform or look for a different video, does anything different happen?
Let's see. Yeah, because I was trying to play a video game earlier and it was doing the same thing. But I can go to a different video.
It's kind of like getting to me. That's kind of like I want to just go ahead and get an apartment just to get up out of there. But I just want.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's doing the same thing.
Same thing? Okay. Well, the notes that the previous representative had put in for the appointment is that just that the upload speed is much lower than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really give much for what or why. I'm trying to take a look at the signal levels and see if there's anything that I can come up with, but everything is within range, and so I'm not too sure what's going on. If there's a lot of traffic on sites or on networks, that does tend to bog things down.
I get that,
yeah.
but I was playing a game earlier that's not like a super duper duper popular game, and it was doing the same thing.
Okay. So over here at Video Fair, I don't have too much information on that. If you would like, I can get you back over to the internet specialist, and they could go over the different reasons for this slow speed if you'd like.
I don't.
I'm also sending an email that has information about slow speeds and why that would happen. It links over to our Spectrum.net website, just detailing what kind of stuff causes that. Take a look at 5 hours ago was rebooted. Fine. This is
Chat, I'm trying to fix this. I'm sorry.
program. Interesting.
So, let me see.
Okay. I'm trying to take a look at the article on our website. It's not really for what you're experiencing with the gaming. It doesn't really show anything that would apply to that, unless unless your device doesn't have a lot of RAM. But if you were able to play that game just fine before, not too sure. For the computer, I know that viruses and stuff like that could definitely happen. That's actually crashed one of my computers. Just bogged it down so hard that I couldn't even use it anymore.
Okay.
But I'm sure that you're just fine with your computer and internet security.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, Thomas, I don't have any clear answers, and that for sure is why we're sending out a technician to look into this and investigate. Okay?
Okay, I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Chad, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. All right. Maybe lowering the bit rate. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm really trying to figure this out. I don't know why my shit just started randomly doing this. Doesn't make any sense. See? I could do that. It might be YouTube, honestly. Will. I could at least turn the volume up here. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out.
The President of the United States will walk down that aisle and be greeted by members of the House who are flanking the aisle, also senators and, of course, cabinet members. James, squeeze in for us who the designated survivor is. Answer the trivia question of the night, and then also reflect on what you're seeing from the president here.
The Education Secretary, Miguel Cardona, is the only cabinet secretary who is not in the chamber. A White House official confirms. Everyone else we've seen is president accounted for. Cardona, a close ally of Jill Biden, former Connecticut Education Secretary, staying behind tonight in case anything happens.
So, what are you watching here, James, as we see the president? He's only made it about, what would you say, Rhonda, 3 feet inside? Maybe 10 feet inside.
What I'm watching for, that's Tim Blanchard, one of the people who voted to remove Kevin McCarthy, actually. I'm watching to see whether Joe Biden makes a case for himself or if he makes a case for his worldview. He is obviously, he's probably not going to mention Donald Trump by name. He'll allude to him, he'll refer to him. But ultimately, if the president wants to change the trajectory of the election, a campaign that he is currently losing, he will need to convince the American people that this election is not really about him versus Donald Trump, that it's about something bigger. And this is one of the few circumstances and situations where you can really reach people who may not otherwise listen to you. It may not, be a huge audience of persuadable voters, but there's millions and millions of Americans who are what the pollsters call double doubters, which is they don't really like Joe Biden, and they also don't really like Donald Trump. And Joe Biden needs to convince them, in many cases they voted for him in 2020, to vote for him again in 2024. I expect that Republicans are actually going to be on pretty good behavior. Mike Johnson has told them to be. Even Matt Gaetz, I've just heard from a source, is telling Republicans, keep it cool, don't do anything that gives Biden a moment where he can use you as a foil. And it's because they want to sort of deny him that opportunity to rise to the occasion. But the statecraft, the pageantry, Joe Biden really has an opportunity tonight to make a case for Bidenism, but also for international engagement, a case against protectionism and isolationism and nativism. If he chooses to do it, we'll see if he rises to that moment.
Rhonda.
I'm just waiting because Biden was shaking everyone's hand. Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the side there. She's wearing the Make America Great Again hat. And I thought at one point he might shake her hand. He's passing by her right now in the red.
You can see the Biden
she's one of the fiercest, of course, supporters of the former president, and I don't see that they are engaging right now. But again, that shows you the dynamics we've been talking about. This is a somewhat more hostile House than she is mouthing something to him. I don't know what it is. But it appears other people are tapping him and he's moving on.
Figure out what Trump's doing.
Perhaps we might get a readout at some point late tonight or tomorrow as to what they might have said. But this is Joe Biden. Some presidents have, just shaken hands every 5 people. Joe Biden is the type to shake everyone's hand. And this is where the White House says he is most comfortable with.
Rhonda, I noticed Steve Scalise right there, notable, of course, because of the cancer treatments he's been undergoing. He could have become the Speaker of the House.
He could have, yeah. He could have. He was in the running.
Did not make that cut in sort of the chaotic rise of Speaker Mike Johnson. You can see Al Green there taking a photograph, doing a selfie with the president. JM, let's talk about this aisle position and what it means to members to be able to snag that moment.
Yeah, these members have staked out these seats for hours. We just saw Terry Sewell, Democrat from Alabama, taking a selfie with the president. We see Senator Martin Heinrich from New Mexico there. Earlier, we saw Democrat Sanford Bishop, who's the dean of the Georgia House delegation after the passing of former Congressman John Lewis. And now we see this exchange with Senator Joe Manchin, who has at times been sort of best of frenemies, if you will, with the president, right? And Kirsten Gillibrand there from New York, and flanked there by one of Biden's closest allies, Chris Coons, Democratic senator from Delaware. A lot of selfies coming down the the aisle, Libby. I feel like we see this a lot on the exit, but this is a lot coming into the chamber. This is a very long procession into the chamber here for the president.
Yeah, they do know he has a speech to give, right? Because that's
I think I'm about to
they can actually just tune into the Washington Post, and they can see themselves on air right now. You know, I'm going to talk to Rhonda in a moment about Senator Chris Coons, who she talked to earlier. But James, I want you to reflect on the way that Joe Biden handled Joe Manchin, because there was a lot of fury about Joe Manchin getting in the way of legislation progressing earlier in the Biden administration. But instead of punching him and really scolding him publicly, Joe Biden took a different tactic. What do you know about the president and how he operates that way?
Well, it's interesting because there is tension within the administration, and indeed, when Biden first came in, Kamala Harris gave TV interviews to West Virginia stations. She even wrote an op-ed in a West Virginia newspaper that said Manchin needs to vote for the American Rescue Plan. Joe Manchin is still incensed about that. He still complains about it to people as recently as last week. You know, and so, but Biden himself has sort of a rapport and a relationship that's a lot better with Manchin than, say, the chief of staff or others. And you know, Democrats were angry at Manchin. The crowd is chanting 4 more years there. But Democrats are angry at Manchin, but now Republicans are certain to pick up the Senate seat because he doesn't run for re-election, and you know they have 51 seats right now, so that takes them down to 50-50 just as the baseline. So they'll certainly miss Manchin when he's gone.
We can see the Supreme Court, who holds so much power, Rhonda, as they decide the fate of Donald Trump's electability, his qualifications for sitting in court, and that could ultimately decide whether or not he wins the presidency. We did see the president speaking with Ketanji Brown Jackson, first black woman to sit on the Supreme Court, his nominee.
And that was a part of his promise to black voters that he would place the first black woman on the Supreme Court, something he did follow through with. I just want to point out that we're all looking to see if Joe Biden is going to have any energy in this speech. If he doesn't bring the energy, I believe the House Democrats and Senate Democrats, but mainly the House Democrats, will give him some of that energy. They, throughout this entire time in the 118th Congress, have been in lockstep with each other, which has been the split screen when we've seen the tensions boil over on the House Republican side, and they do want to show a unified front. I've mentioned before that almost all of the guests that a lot of the Democrats are bringing are related to the reproductive rights issue. They really want to underscore that as something that they believe they need the chance to govern in those down ballot races in November. They need their chance to govern and restore some of those rights again. And he will likely focus on that as well.
I don't know what's going on in my life. Everybody, please make sure to hit the like button if you could.
A top
The audio
ally
stream
of
current bit rate
President
is lower
Biden
than
tell
the
you earlier
recommended
today.
rate.
He's, I asked him, why isn't Biden's message resonating with a lot of Americans? Biden has had some legislative achievements early on. Of course, there were some tangles. We all remember Build Back Better and some of the things he wanted to get passed through early, but there were some achievements that the White House says just haven't been felt by the American people. Chris Coons said he's just got to be he's got to be out there bragging about it, because he is also up against an opponent who has no problem speaking about himself. So that is what Democrats want to see more of the president do. Talk about the achievements.
Make sure to hit the
also
like for me,
he's got to
everybody.
handle the border. He's got to handle reproductive rights, and talk about those kitchen table issues as well.
Stay with the Washington Post. We'll have live coverage after the president speaks at this State of the Union. We'll be checking in with one of our colleagues who's actually in that chamber tonight, watching and witnessing it. Rhonda, there's a lot of energy in that room tonight.
A lot for a long day and a long week, trying to keep the government open again for the 5th time. They've all been here for a long time
That
today.
was it.
But they seem to have a lot of energy right now and really want to hear this speech.
The president looking up for his wife, the First Lady, a reminder that she is surrounded by people who are there with meaning and purpose to represent priorities, goals, and successes of this White House.
Good evening. Good evening. If I were smart, I'd go home now.
No, you ain't smart. Fact check that one, Trump.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans.
Scumbag.
In January 1941, Franklin Roosevelt came to this chamber to speak to the nation, and he said, "I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now, it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union. And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin.
He's lying.
Stand
Trump.
with Ukraine.
Fact check him.
And provide the weapons that needs to defend itself.
Look at this sore loser. Scumbag.
That is all. That is all Ukraine is asking. They're not asking for American soldiers. In fact, there are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine, and I'm determined to keep it that way. But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked by those who want to walk away from our world leadership. It wasn't long ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall."
Come on, Trump, we need that truth, baby.
Now my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, quote, "Do whatever the hell you want." That's a quote. A former president actually said that, bowing down to a Russian leader. I think it's outrageous, it's dangerous, and it's unacceptable.
Here's the comments, Loki.
America is a founding member of NATO, the military alliance of democratic nations created after World War II to prevent war and keep the peace. And today, we've made NATO stronger than ever. We welcomed Finland to the alliance last year. And just this morning, Sweden officially joined, and their minister is here tonight. Can they stand up? Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And they know how to fight. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to NATO, the strongest military alliance the world has ever seen. I say this to Congress, we have to stand up to Putin. Send me a bipartisan national security bill.
This has nothing to do with the State of the Union. This isn't about us.
Watching. If the United States walks away, it will put Ukraine at risk. Europe is at risk. The free world will be at risk, emboldening others to do what they wish to do us harm. My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I will not bow down.
Yo, him and Nancy together are like 200 years old.
History is watching. Just like history watched 3 years ago on January 6th. when insurrectionists stormed this very Capitol and placed a dagger to the throat of American democracy. Many of you are here
I'm fact
on
checking
that darkest of days. We all saw with our own eyes the insurrectionists were not patriots. They'd come to stop the peaceful transfer of power, to overturn the will of the people. January 6th lies about the 2020 election and the plots to steal the election posed a gravest threat to U.S. democracy since the Civil War. But they failed. America stood. America stood strong.
Who is
Democracy
clapping?
prevailed. We must be honest. The threat to democracy must be defended. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
What does that mean? Does it mean anything?
As I've done ever since being elected to office, I ask all of you without regard to party to join together and defend democracy. Remember your oath of office of defending against all threats, foreign and domestic. Respect free and fair elections, restore trust in our institutions, and make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America, zero place. Again, it's not hyperbole to suggest history is watching. We're watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do. History is watching another assault on freedom. Joining us tonight is Latoya Beasley, a social worker from Birmingham, Alabama. 14 months ago, she and her husband welcomed a baby girl thanks to the miracle of IVF. She scheduled treatments to have that second child, but the Alabama Supreme Court shut down IVF treatments across the state, unleashed by a Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. She was told her dream would have to wait. What her family had got through should never have happened. Unless Congress acts, it could happen again. So tonight, let's stand up for families like hers. To my friends across the aisle, don't keep this waiting any longer. Guarantee the right to ADF. Guarantee it nationwide.
Yeah, Joe Biden looks hideous, too.
Like most Americans, I believe Roe v. Wade got it right.
Roe v. Wade.
I thank Vice President Harris for being an incredible leader, defending reproductive freedom, and so much more. Thank you. My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it.
Yep, love it.
Look at the chaos that has resulted. Joining us tonight is Kate Cox, the wife and mother from Dallas.
She's morons.
She's become pregnant again and had a fetus of a fatal condition. Her doctor told Kate that her own life and her ability to have children in the future were at risk if she didn't act. Because Texas law banned her ability to act, Kate and her husband had to leave the state to get what she needed. What her family got through should have never happened as well. But it's happening in too many others. There are state laws banning the freedom to choose, criminalizing doctors, forcing survivors of rape and incest to leave their states to get the treatment they need. Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away? Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that.
I want to find it.
Clearly. Clearly. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024.
I want to find the chart. I can't find it.
If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
There was a chart that I seen.
Folks, America cannot go back. I'm here tonight to show what I believe is the way forward, because I know how far we come. 4 years ago next week,
I can't find it.
Before I came to office, the country was hit by the worst pandemic and the worst economic crisis in a century.
Yeah,
remember the fear, record losses? Remember the spikes in crime and the murder rate, raging virus that took more than 1 million American lives, of loved ones, millions left behind? A mental health crisis of isolation and loneliness.
Can't find it.
A president, my predecessor, failed the most basic presidential duty that he owes to American people, the duty to care. I think that's unforgivable. I came to office determined to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. We have. It doesn't make news, but in 1,000 cities and towns, the American people are writing the greatest comeback story never told. So let's tell the story here. Tell it here and now. America's comeback is building the future of American possibilities.
I can't find it, guys.
Building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. Investing in all America, in all Americans, to make sure everyone has a fair shot, and we leave no one behind. The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. That's what America does. That's what America does.
Can't find it.
Folks,
but what I was looking up, you guys, is a very small number
now
of
our
people.
economy is literally the envy of the world.
It's a
15 million new jobs in just 3 years. A record. A record.
Through the scumbag.
Unemployment at 50-year lows. A record 16 million Americans are starting small businesses, and each one is a literal act of hope. With historic job growth and small business growth for Black and Hispanics and Asian Americans, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs in America and counting. Where is it written we can't be the manufacturing capital of the world? We are, and we will. More people have health insurance today. More people have health insurance today than ever before. The racial wealth gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages keep going up, inflation keeps coming down. Inflation is dropping 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world, and it's lower. The landing is and will be soft. And now, instead of importing foreign products and exporting American jobs, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Right here in America, where they belong.
Everybody, he's got this going.
It takes time, but the American people are beginning to feel it. Consumer studies show consumer confidence is soaring.
Everybody, please make sure to hit the like. I'm sorry that the stream's a little bit delayed. I apologize for it.
Since the 1930s. Past administrations, including my predecessor, including some Democrats as well in the past, failed to buy American. Not anymore. On my watch, federal projects that you fund, like helping build American roads, bridges, and highways, will be made with American products and built by American workers.
Let's see what Trump has to say so far. Just turn him down a little bit, because
Creating good paying American jobs. And thanks to our CHIPS and Science Act, the United States is investing more in research and development than ever before. During the pandemic, a shortage of semiconductors, chips, that drove up the price of everything from cell phones to automobiles. And by the way, we invented those chips right here in America. Well, instead of having to import them, private companies are now investing billions of dollars to build new chip factories here in America, creating tens of thousands of jobs. Many of those jobs paying $100,000 a year and don't require a college degree.
this is the one Trump hasn't even been saying nothing. What's going on?
Have attracted $650 billion in private sector investment in clean energy, advanced manufacturing, creating tens of thousands of jobs here in America. And thanks to our bipartisan infrastructure law, 46,000 new projects have been announced all across your communities. And by the way, I noticed some of you strongly voted against it, or they're cheering on that money coming in. I like it. I'm with you. I'm with you. If any of you don't want that money in your district, just let me know. Modernizing our roads and bridges, ports and
That's what
airports,
these people
public
are. It's all
transit
about
systems.
money for them.
Removing poisonous lead pipes so every child can drink clean water without risk of brain damage. Providing affordable high-speed internet for every American, no matter where you live, urban, suburban, or rural communities in red states and blue
Nobody
states.
cares about that, bro. That's not
Investments in
important.
tribal communities. Because of my
Jeez,
investment
dude,
in
this
family
dude's
farms.
such a moron.
Because our investment in family farms led by my Secretary of Agriculture who knows more about this than anybody I know.
What did he just say?
Family for those farms and their children and grandchildren won't have to leave home to make a living. It's transformative. The great comeback story is Belvedere, Illinois, home to an auto plant for nearly 60 years. Before I came to office, the plant was on its way to shutting down. Thousands of workers feared for their livelihoods. Hope was fading. Then I was elected to office, and we raised the Belvedere repeatedly with auto companies, knowing unions would make all the difference. The UAW worked like hell to keep the plant open and get these jobs back, and together we succeeded. Instead of auto factories shutting down, auto factories reopening, a new state-of-the-art battery factories being built to power those cars there at the same.
He doesn't even finish. Dinosaurs. Fucking dinosaurs. Him and Nancy Pelosi. Fucking 300 years old amongst each other.
Instead of your town being left behind,
God, man, this is
community is moving
pathetic.
forward again. Because instead of watching auto jobs in the future go overseas,
Auto jams, jobs.
4,000 union jobs with higher wages are building the future in Belvedere right here in America. Here tonight is UAW President Shawn Fain, a great friend and a great labor leader. Shawn, where are you? Stand up.
It's so cold. Okay, wait, he did.
And Dawn.
Here we go, hold on.
And Dawn Sims, a third-generation worker, UAW worker at Belvedere. Shawn, I was proud to.
So we're going to read what Trump said, right? Interesting that Romney and Manchin are sitting together and nobody wants to talk to them. I think they'd make great no-labels team. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Putin only invaded Ukraine because he has no respect for Biden. It would have never happened under the Trump administration. For 4 years. It didn't happen. It's true. No, I said NATO has to pay the bill. That's a big thing. And if it doesn't pay the bills, we're not going to protect you. The money came pouring in. Under no other president, under other presidents, NATO was broke. Think about that, guys. Really think about that. NATO only became strong because of me. I got the NATO nations to pay up. They were almost delinquent. The United States was paying for all of them. The so-called insurrectionists that he talked about had no guns. They only had a rigged election. And the only gun that was used was Ashley Babbitt, who sadly is no longer with us. Another truth. It's just true. IVF was just approved in Alabama, and the Republicans are totally in support of helping women. Okay.
Build together a future where the days of trickle-down economics are over, and the wealthy and the biggest corporations no longer get all the tax breaks. And by the way, I understand corporations. I come from a state that has more corporations invested than every one of your states in the state of the United States.
Just give everybody millions of dollars, Joe. Fuck it, bro. Make us all millionaires if that's what it is.
But I grew up
people are dumb,
in a home
dude.
where
So
trickle-down
dumb.
economics didn't put much on my dad's kitchen table. That's
Oh,
why I
shut up,
determined
you
to turn
fucking
things around so
spoiled
middle
rich
class does
fuck.
well.
Shut
When
your
they do
mouth,
well, the
dude.
poor way up and the
You
wealthy
grew up
still
in
do
the
very
suburbs,
well.
bro.
We all do well. And there's more to do to make sure you're feeling the benefits of all we're doing. Americans pay more for prescription drugs than anywhere in the world. It's wrong, and I'm ending it. With a law that I proposed and signed, not one of you Republican buddies voted for it, we finally beat Big Pharma. Instead of paying $400 a month or thereabouts for insulin with diabetes, and it only costs $10 to make, they only get paid $35 a month now and still make a healthy profit. And I want to, but what to do next? I want to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for every American who needs it. Everyone. For
Isn't that what
years,
Trump did?
people have talked about it, but finally we got it done and gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices on prescription drugs, just like the VA is able to do for veterans. That's not just saving seniors money, it's saving taxpayers money. We cut the federal deficit by $160 billion.
Why is he wearing a mask?
Because Medicare will no longer have to pay those exorbitant prices to Big Pharma. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market to treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. It's now time to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 500 different drugs over the next decade. They're making a lot of money, guys. And they'll still be extremely profitable. Will not only save lives, it will save taxpayers another $200 billion. Starting next year, the same law caps total prescription drug costs for seniors on Medicare at $2,000 a year, even for expensive cancer drugs that cost $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. Now I want to cap prescription drug costs at $2,000 a year for everyone. Folks, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but if you want to get an Air Force One and fly to Toronto, Berlin, Moscow, well, even Moscow, probably. And bring your prescription with you, and I promise you I'll get it for you for 40% the cost you're paying now. Same company, same drug, same place. Folks, the Affordable Care Act, the old Obamacare, it's still a very big deal.
Right, look. It's literally just the front right there, that little front of the room clapping. No one else cares because you're a scumbag. Look at him! He looks like a lost dinosaur.
1 million of you can no longer be denied health insurance because of pre-existing conditions.
Shut up.
But my predecessor, and many in this chamber, want to take this prescription drug away by repealing Affordable Care Act.
Whoa!
I'm not going to let that happen.
Oh man, this dude is
Stop you
just
50
sad.
times before it will stop you again. In fact, I'm not only protecting it, I'm expanding it. They enacted tax credits of $800 per person per year, reduce health care costs for millions of working families. That tax credit expires next year. I want to make that savings permanent. To state the obvious, women are more than half our population, but research on women's health has always been underfunded. That's why we're launching the first ever White House initiative on women's health research, led by Jill, doing an incredible job as First Lady. So pass my plan for $12 billion to transfer women's health research and benefit millions of lives all across America. I know the cost of housing is so important to you. If inflation keeps coming down, mortgage rates will come down as well, and the Fed acknowledges that. But I'm not waiting. I want to provide an annual tax credit that will give Americans $400 a month for the next 2 years as mortgage rates come down, to put toward their mortgages when they buy their first home or trade up for a little more space. Just for 2 years. And my administration is also eliminating title insurance on federally backed mortgages. When you refinance your home, you can save $1,000 or more as a consequence. For millions of renters, we're cracking down on big landlords who use antitrust law, who break antitrust laws by price fixing and driving up rents. We've cut red tape so builders can get federally financing, which is already helping build a record 1.7 million new housing units nationwide. Now pass. Now pass and build and renovate 2 million affordable homes and bring those rents down.
Why is Chet disabled?
To remain the strongest economy in the world, we need to have the best education system in the world. And I suspect all of you, want to give every child, a good start by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. You know, I think I pointed out last year,
You guys see how much puppets they are? That one dude was looking around. He didn't even know why he was standing up.
where there's no books, they're not read to, not spoken to very often. Start school, kindergarten, or first grade, having heard 1 million fewer words spoken. Well, studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school, go on to earn a 2- and 4-year degree, no matter what their background is. I met a year and a half ago with the leaders of the Business Roundtable. They were mad that they were angry. I think, well, they were discussing why I wanted to spend money on education.
What flavor
Pointed out
though?
to them as vice president. I met with over I think it was 182 of those folks. Don't hold me to the exact number. And I asked them what they need most, the CEOs. And you've had the same experience on both sides of the aisle. They say a better educated workforce, right? So I looked at them, and I say, I come from Delaware. DuPont used to be the 8th largest corporation in the world. And every new enterprise they bought, they educated the workforce to that enterprise. But none of you do that anymore. Why are you angry with me providing you the opportunity for the best educated workforce in the world? And they all looked at me and said, I think you're right. I want to expand high-quality tutoring and summer learning to see that every child learns to read by 3rd grade. I'm also connecting local businesses and high schools so students get hands-on experience and a path to a good-paying job, whether or not they go to college. And I want to make sure that college is more affordable. Let's continue increasing the Pell Grants to working and middle-class families and increase record investments in HBCUs and minority-serving institutions, including Hispanic institutions. When I was told I couldn't universally just change the way in which we dealt with student loans, I fixed 2 student loan programs that already existed to reduce the burden of student debt for nearly 4 million Americans, including nurses, firefighters, and others in public service. Like Keenan Jones, a public educator from Minnesota, who's here with us tonight. Keenan, where are you? Keenan, thank you. He's educated hundreds of students so they can go to college. Now he's able to help, after debt forgiveness, get his own daughter to college. And folks, look, such relief is good for the economy because folks are now able to buy a home, start a business, start a family. While we're at it, I want to give public school teachers a raise.
No. Nope.
And by the way, the first couple of years, we cut the deficit. Now, let me speak to the question of fundamental fairness for all Americans. I've been delivering real results in fiscally responsible ways. We've already cut the federal deficit. We've already cut the federal deficit over $1 trillion. I signed the bipartisan deal to cut another $1 trillion in the next decade. It's my goal to cut the federal deficit another $3 trillion by making big corporations and very wealthy finally beginning to pay their fair share. Look, I'm a capitalist. If you want to make or can make $1 million or millions of bucks, that's great. Just pay your fair share in taxes. A fair tax code is how we invest things to make this country great. Healthcare, education, defense, and so much more. But here's the deal. The last administration enacted a $2 trillion tax cut, overwhelmingly benefit the top 1%, the very wealthy and the biggest corporations, and exploded the federal deficit. They added more to the national debt than any presidential term in American history. Check the numbers. Folks at home, does anybody really think the tax code is fair? Do you really think the wealthy and big corporations need another $2 trillion tax break? I sure don't. I'm going to keep fighting like hell to make it fair. Under my plan, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in federal taxes. Nobody, not one penny. And they haven't yet. In fact, the child tax credit I passed during the pandemic cut taxes for millions of working families and cut child poverty in half. Restore that child tax credit. No child should go hungry in this country. The way to make the tax